Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I'm bringing you a top 777. That's right, Morgan Le Fay, fully built out, testing her abilities, showing off some of her pros, identifying some of her weaknesses, some of her cons, possibly some skills that are bugged or just not working properly. So if any of the devs are watching, any of my coworkers, you can fix that shit. And generally giving you my opinions on this character and what you can do to build her to be supreme, because she's super cool looking, her skills are super cool looking, and she's a very nice female universal villain, which we have very few of, so it's super nice to have her, and she's free to play, so she's really easy to get. But what can you expect if you kind of go all the way with Morgan Le Fay? So let's get into the build here. I got gear 22s on the first and the fourth gear. Generally, the first gear is the best one to rank up past 20, although it's very expensive. The fourth gear is also very good because you do get that fourth option, which you can change to be whatever you want. Generally speaking, 2 is the worst one because it's usually just defensive stats, and we know how defense is in Marvel Future Fight. And then the third one I do think is good for her because of the double HP and because she has a lot of good defensive properties: revive, heal, summons that take her health. But generally we're using her offensively, so it's not as important because if we're getting hit, we're kind of doing something wrong. As far as the rest of her build goes, the ISO 8 set is Power of Anger Hulk. I think she desperately needs attack speed. That's why this is the ideal set for her. I got it fully awakened. There is a pretty big difference between 40% all attack and 35 that I found. So try to get it as close as possible. Of course, the actual individual ones you want all attack and HP, or energy attack and HP. You can't actually see the stats there because of my camera, but there we go. All attack HP or energy attack HP. As far as the obelisk goes, I went for a CTP of energy because I am a chubby whale, and also because I'm going to be using her for ABX, and she does have a lot of hits on her skills. 5 has a lot of hits, 4 has a lot of hits, and the other skills actually have quite a few hits as well. But generally, the rotation that you use to time your proc is 5 into 4, 5 cancel 4, and so that does lend itself to a CTP of energy. However, here we go, listen closely. It's actually really frustrating. She doesn't have super armor, she doesn't have guard break immunity, she doesn't have invincibility, she has immunity. All of that means she does not get any way of protecting herself from guard break. And what that means is if she gets attacked by a character that guard breaks, like any world boss, most of their attacks, the Frost Beast and ABX, she will get guard broken, she'll stop attacking, her skill gets interrupted, and she kind of just looks down at her pretty shoes. Oh, they're high heels. And basically you just waste your time. It's a super frustrating thing, and I don't know why they did that to this character specifically. They could have easily slapped it on her tier 2 passive, or her, maybe not her 4-star passive. They could have easily built this character like that. Having said that, a CTP of Destruction is absolutely an option for her. I think the CTP of Destruction also makes her a little bit more PvP, yes, I said PvP, viable because of the penetration. The penetration is super important for PvP, and she doesn't have any penetration on any of her skills. So yeah, I do think that it's a toss-up between those two. However, I'm just going pure damage. I don't really care about, I can kind of avoid getting guard broken most of the time, so it doesn't matter too much to me. So we're going to jump in first to give you guys a nice comparison between Thanos Stage 10 for, this was another team I was practicing with, for Morgan Le Fay v Ghost Panther. So Ghost Panther, when I got him to tier 2, I got a fire damage 200 proc on him, and I got his gears up, and I got his obelisk, or his Uru and stuff like that. Anyways, and I showed you what he could do. He was about rank 500 at the time, and he pushed Thanos to 5 bars in just over 2 minutes without any striker. So it was about 2 minutes and 20 seconds, I believe, for Ghost Panther. I had to go back and watch the video. So I wanted to do a similar test to show you guys how much damage Morgan can do with a similar team up. Now we're using Shuri instead of Ghost Panther, so it's a little bit better defensively, but otherwise it's pretty much the same. The rotation that you use generally is 5 cancel into 4. The really nice thing about her 4th skill, as you can see, is that she can rotate around, and so because of that, you can move around. So it's just like Strife's 4th skill, to his 3rd skill actually. It's really good in that sense. Her 3rd skill summons those clones there, and they will also lay down a mind control. The mind control is nice. It also has an iframe. It only works in the first phase against Thanos, but I do recommend that you use it. But honestly, I found playing as Morgan Le Fay that she seems to fit pretty well as a character to fight world bosses. You've got the mind control to set yourself up to crank out nice damage with her 5 cancel 4, and it just kind of, I feel like a lot of her skills really mesh well together in terms of their synergy with one another. She's got the heal on 2 that can refresh, so you can spam it multiple times. She's got the clones and the mind control on 3, so that gives you not only a target, because the boss will attack the clones because they have life and they have their target ability, but then it also gives you the mind control that you can use to set up your attacks. It's also good to know that she has very long range. You can see there, I was able to target Thanos to start attacking him with 5 and 4 from pretty far away. I was outside of the range of the lava, so that is an important thing to note. She has good range on her skills, so it's easy to cancel out 5 into 4 from pretty much anywhere, and I'm not even getting into the defensive qualities that she has with the revive and stuff like that. However, one thing that is pretty bad, it doesn't get as shown off. It's not as obvious here because Thanos now has debuff immunity, but there we go, I just got guard broken. Her 4th skill has oh boy, her 4th skill has all defense down, but it doesn't appear to work properly. And it doesn't appear to work properly in the sense that it doesn't apply the correct amount of all defense down. There's a pretty easy way to test this, but oh, we gotta move. Alright, we triggered our proc by accident. I'm probably doing the best possible showing of timing her proc that I can. In ABX, Extreme Alliance Battle, which is where the majority of you guys want to use her, it's a lot harder to time the proc because there are a lot more enemies. This is a one-on-one fight, so that's why it seems so easy to time my proc. Oh, Cynicalex, you're so good at this. Yeah, right. It's because of that. So keep that in mind. Versus multiple opponents, it'll definitely be harder because her 5th skill starts doing damage as soon as you lay down that kind of word there on the floor. It starts slapping the boss with damage, and so it will. I got guard broken again. Okay, we gotta run around here, Benny Hill style. Oh, we got hit there. It's not a instant iframe, but you can see that the damage is good, and the fact that she can move around does lend itself to giving her more defensive flexibility even when you're manually playing as her. But this is the 5-star, or this is the 5-bar kind of point that I wanted to show you guys. So with a very comparable build, I would say the only big differences are that Morgan Le Fay has a fully awakened ISO 8 set that Ghost Panther didn't have, and she also has a CTP of energy where he had a fire damage 200 proc. I would say she has a better build overall than Ghost Panther did, but she's clearing it about 40 seconds slower. So yeah, her damage is not as good as Ghost Panther's, but it's actually not that bad, at least for kind of mid-level World Boss Ultimate. Would you actually build this character this much just for World Boss Ultimate? I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But I want to do a bit more testing with you guys. So I want to show you a different test here. This is Ebony Maw stage 30. Now this test is important because of the all defense down on Morgan Le Fay's 4th skill. So her 4th skill has a -1 all defense for every hit, and that is supposed to stack up to -60. However, it doesn't appear to be doing that, and there's a couple of ways that we can test this. The first way to test this is just to do the skill, and I just gotta wait here, or otherwise I get guard broken. Do the skill and then look at the bar. Up there it says -1%, and it just stays at -1%. But what's more important than that to note is the fact that when you continue to do damage after the all defense is stacked, the damage, her damage doesn't really go up by much. As the all defense stacks are being applied, you should see the damage kind of spike. But the bar, if you just focus on the actual speed of the bar itself, the bar, I'm talking about his health bar. If you focus on the speed of the bar as it travels down, it's not actually moving much faster. So that implies that even though the all defense debuff appears to be being applied, it's not being applied because he's not dodging, and he's taking a consistent amount of damage. And if his defense was going down, like -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, obviously a lot faster than that, if his defense was going down, then your damage would be going up. It's just kind of logical. So let me show you a different example now. So this is the exact same team. We're just going to swap him for Gambit. Now, the leadership doesn't matter because Anti-Man just provides an attack bonus, so this doesn't have any impact on his skills. But the reason why I'm showing you Gambit is because, and you obviously should know this by now, but just because of how much I love Gambit, not because you have Gambit. His straight flush skill applies up to 60% all defense down, which is the exact same amount as Morgan Le Fay. However, the all defense down stacks minus 30 as an increment. So that means that one full cast of the skill will apply a minus 30 all defense down buff. So now what I want you to do is I want you to take a look at the difference in terms of how the bar moves when you trigger his 5th skill as the proc is activating and as the all defense down is being applied, stacking up to minus 30. And you'll see basically, I mean, if Morgan Le Fay is doing that much damage, and if she has that much all defense down, you should see the bar move slowly at first, but then as you ramp up, the bar starts to move faster, and that's exactly what it looks like for the proc is also getting involved here, so I know that, but that's how it looks for Gambit, where it starts off slow and then it ramps up as the all defense down begins to stack. And when you go and look at it, it says minus 30 up to minus 60 stacked 3 times. So the stack 3 times just means it's stacked way past minus 60. It would be at minus 90, but because it only goes up to 60, it's not going to stack beyond that. But in the case of Morgan Le Fay, it appears that only 1% all defense down is being stacked at all, and it just keeps refreshing at minus 1. So I do think that Morgan Le Fay is bugged or kind of broken in a way, and I do encourage the devs to take a look at her to see what's going on, if I'm wrong, or if they can possibly clear up the amount, the visual indicators, because they're inconsistent. For Morgan Le Fay and Gambit, the visual numbers stay the same. So even though she might be stacking up to minus 50, it's still showing minus 1. Same thing with Gambit. It might be at minus 60, but it's only showing minus 30. However, it's inconsistent because for Deadpool, it shows the exact amount. So if you hit maximum effort, 15 times, it'll show minus 45 because 15 times 3. If you hit 20 times, it'll show minus 60. So it'll show the exact amount. So that is something that frustrates me. It also is something that leads me to believe that her stats are not as high as they should be, that she should be doing more damage, which is a good sign. But alternatively, we can just wait for a uniform. Now, here's another thing I want to show you guys. It's the fluidity and the kind of connectivity of her skills. She has really well-designed skills, and her kit is really well-designed. It's just the damage numbers are really sad. And I'll show you that against this Cull Obsidian fight. So aside from getting guard broken, which is almost inevitable, we start off with the 3rd skill to mind control, but then we just do 5 into 4. And then from here, we basically just want to kite for a little bit until we're ready again. But we have 1 and 2 available. Well, we can't go over there because we're going to get time frozen. But we have 1 and 2 available to us. We have the iframe on 5 that we can hold if we're in danger and we're going to take some damage. But she just has a really good kit. And this kit is good for World Boss. It's also good for it. I mean, it doesn't appear to be good for PvP in one-on-one situations, but it may be very good for PvP in 3-on-3 situations. She may be very good for Alliance Conquest. I haven't heard too much about her, but it is possible. But it's really the damage that people are focusing on. But I find when I play her that her kit just flows really well. The only kind of awkward thing is the skill cooldown. The actual cooldown of her skills 4 and 5 is a little bit high. They're both at 9 seconds, just under or just over 8 seconds, 9.1 seconds, which is usually unusually high for a character that dominates. Usually characters that are dominant have 5th skills or 4th skills that have 7 seconds or less cooldown so that they can time their procs properly. Even Cable has about 7 or 7.5 seconds on his 5th skill, and if you imagine the power of that 5th skill, that he's able to recharge that as fast, or actually faster than Morgan Le Fay charges her 5th or 4th skill, is pretty frustrating. She got guard broken there, but the fact that she can basically keep up. Now, this is only stage 25, so obviously he gets more difficult, but we're not here to showcase her damage. Although it's serviceable, it's definitely not possible for her to clear this without, obviously, strikers or without a better build, and it's going to be impossible to go up and climb to higher levels. But I wanted to pick on Cull Obsidian specifically because he has so much crowd control reduction, he has so much debuff removal, that he honestly ignores her all defense down, which makes you focus more individually on just her skill damages, but also on her skills themselves, and they actually flow really well. She is actually really fun to play. She feels kind of like Strife, but she feels a bit tankier than Strife, to be honest with you, because of the heal, because of the clones. It's just the lack of super armor and the lack of damage that really sets her apart and makes her, you know, uncomparable to someone as powerful as Strife. But I do think that this does bode well for her future. So I want to finish off with just a small taste of Extreme Alliance battles so you can see how quickly I hit 100k. My top score is 560,000 with Morgan Le Fay with this team up here. Ghost is there for the 20% energy damage buff, or energy attack buff. But I think with a uniform, or possibly with a rework, Morgan Le Fay could be, I want to say, like a top 30 character. Possibly a top 20 character, because I just feel like she has all of the weapons necessary. She has the immunity, she has the moving fourth skill beam, she's got the iframes, she's got the clones that come out with the mind control, she's got the revive, she's got the heal, she's got pretty much everything that you need to make kind of an ideal character. So both offensively and hopefully in the future defensively. So and she's fun to play and she looks so cool. So I really do hope that either she gets looked at from her base standpoint of view, or Netmarble was planning on giving her some sort of uniform in the future, even if it costs, you know, the second tier amount or more. I would be totally down for something that boosts her survivability or boosts her damage and just boosts her value overall, because I think she's a bit of she's not really tapping into her full potential at the moment, given how powerful her skills are if you basically just look at everything else and ignore the damage. But there, you know, it took us less than a minute to hit 100,000. Very, very easy character. By far the best one for this day. And a character that I feel has still a lot of potential, although it's not potential that you can necessarily tap into. It's one that needs to be kind of fixed through a uniform, or just bumping up her base stat damage, or possibly fixing the all defense down on her fourth skill if that is actually broken. So, you know, share the video, let people know what I think of Morgan Le Fay, let people know about the all defense down so they can pay more attention to it and possibly answer some of their questions about Morgan Le Fay and why she's hits like a wet noodle, wet pasta, wet spaghetti. Subscribe if you guys enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.